There are moments in life when something small happens, and the reaction inside us feels so much bigger than the situation at hand. Maybe someone offers a bit of criticism, and suddenly we feel worthless. Maybe we make a small mistake, and the shame feels crushing, far heavier than the mistake itself. Or maybe we feel a wave of loneliness, even when surrounded by people. These moments are not always about the present. Often, they are echoes from the past, carried inside us like an old song we never stopped hearing. Carl Jung believed that every one of us carries what he called the child archetype, the part of us that holds memory, innocence, vulnerability, and possibility. He wrote, "In every adult lurks a child, an eternal child, something that is always becoming, that calls for unceasing care, attention, and education." When we feel those heavy emotions, it is often this child within us who is reaching out, asking to be acknowledged. Think back for a moment to your younger self, a time when you were small, when the world felt so big, and your needs for safety, comfort, and love were pure and simple. Some of those needs may not have been fully met. Maybe you were told to be quiet when you wanted to cry. Maybe mistakes were not met with gentle understanding, but with harsh words. Maybe you learned to hide parts of yourself in order to feel accepted. Those experiences can shape the voice that speaks to us inside, and that voice can become harsh, critical, or cold. The good news is that this story does not end in childhood. That younger part of you never disappeared. It lives inside, waiting for compassion. Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." The inner child is one of those unconscious parts. By turning toward it with words of love and healing, we bring it into the light of consciousness, and something powerful begins to shift. Words matter. Think about the times in your life when someone's words cut deep, leaving an imprint that lasted years. Now think about the times when someone's words comforted you, lifted you, and gave you hope. Words are not just sounds. They carry meaning, and that meaning can soothe the wounds that have been hidden for so long. When spoken with care, words can become medicine for the inner child. In this space, we will explore the healing power of affirmations, not as empty phrases, but as genuine expressions of care for the little one inside you who still longs to be seen and loved. These are words that melt shame, words that reassure, words that invite the inner child to come out from hiding and trust again. If you are navigating change, if you are searching for healing, or if you are simply longing to feel more whole, this journey is for you. It is not about forcing anything or rushing toward perfection. It is about slowing down, listening inward, and offering yourself what you might have needed long ago. You are here because a part of you knows it is time. And today we begin with words. Words that have the power to remind you of your worth, your safety, and your belonging. Chapter 1. Meeting the Inner Child. When we talk about the inner child, it can sound abstract at first, but the truth is, this part of you is very real. It shows up in subtle ways every single day. The inner child is not about age. It is not about being childish. It is about the part of you that still remembers. The child inside you carries both the bright moments of wonder and the tender wounds of pain. It is the part of you that once looked at the world with wide eyes, full of imagination, curiosity, and trust. And it is also the part of you that felt small, powerless, or unseen when life became difficult. Carl Jung described this inner child as an archetype, a universal symbol within the psyche. He said, "The child is that which brings the light, and it is also that which suffers the darkness." What he meant is that the child within holds the seeds of our creativity, playfulness, and capacity for joy, but also the imprints of unmet needs, disappointments, and moments where we felt abandoned. Meeting the inner child means acknowledging both of these truths, the beauty and the pain. Think about the ways your inner child might try to get your attention. It could appear in the sudden flood of emotion that feels too big for the situation. Maybe you receive criticism, and instead of calmly reflecting, you feel like collapsing under a heavy weight. That is often the inner child who once longed for approval and feared rejection. It could appear in the pressure you put on yourself to always do things perfectly, because long ago mistakes felt dangerous, or they brought punishment instead of gentle guidance. It might show up as a quiet voice of shame that whispers, "I am not good enough," even when the adult part of you knows better. These are the echoes of childhood that never had a chance to fully heal. But the inner child does not only appear in pain, it also shows up in joy. When you laugh freely, when you lose track of time while creating something, when you feel wonder at a sunset or delight in a small detail of life, that is the child within expressing itself. The inner child carries the innocence, imagination, and openness that keep life vibrant. Meeting the inner child means making space for both the wounds and the gifts. So how do you meet this part of yourself? You begin by slowing down and turning inward with curiosity instead of judgment. Imagine the younger version of yourself. Picture their face, their eyes, their expression. See them not as someone weak or broken, but as someone deserving of care. Often, when people first connect with their inner child, there can be resistance. It may feel silly or uncomfortable or even painful. That is normal. For years, many of us learned to ignore or silence that younger part. But just like a child who hides when they are frightened, the inner child only begins to emerge when it feels safe. Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." Meeting your inner child is an awakening. It is about looking inside and saying, "I see you. I hear you. I am here for you now." That simple recognition can be deeply powerful, because what the inner child longed for was not perfection, not endless praise, but presence. To know that their feelings mattered. To know that they were not alone. As you reflect on your own journey, notice the patterns that might be signals from your inner child. Do you feel overwhelming guilt for small things? That could be a child self who was taught to carry burdens that were never theirs. Do you struggle to rest because you feel you must always prove your worth? That could be the child who once believed love had to be earned. Do you sometimes feel a deep longing for comfort, but cannot explain why? That may be the inner child waiting for someone, waiting for you, to offer kindness. Meeting the inner child is not about blaming the past. It is not about pointing fingers. It is about seeing the truth of your own story and offering compassion where it was once missing. It is about gently turning toward the small voice that says, "I still need to be loved." And when you begin to listen, something begins to change. The weight you carry can become lighter. The shame that once seemed permanent can begin to melt. In this moment, you might even place a hand over your heart, close your eyes, and imagine that younger you standing before you. Maybe they are 4, or 8, or 12. Maybe you see them clearly, or maybe just a faint impression. What matters is the intention. Look at them with soft eyes. Notice how they feel, and silently say, "I see you." That simple act is the beginning of healing. Jung believed that the inner child was not just a memory, but a living part of the psyche that continues to influence our choices, our emotions, and our sense of self. He taught that by integrating this part of ourselves, we move closer to wholeness. And isn't that what we all long for? Not to be perfect, not to erase the past, but to feel whole, connected and at peace. Meeting your inner child is the first step on that path. It is an invitation to step into relationship with yourself, to stop running from the vulnerable parts, and to begin welcoming them home. And in this welcome, in this gentle acknowledgement, the seeds of healing are planted. Chapter 2. The Power of Words. Words. We often think of them as ordinary, as simple tools we use to communicate. Yet words are far more powerful than we give them credit for. Think about it. One sentence can stay with you for a lifetime. A harsh comment spoken years ago might still echo in your mind today. At the same time, a kind word spoken with sincerity might be something you return to again and again when you need comfort. Words are not just sounds. They are carriers of meaning. They can wound or they can heal. Carl Jung once wrote, "Words are animals, alive with a soul of their own." He understood that language is not lifeless. Words hold energy. They carry emotion. They shape the way we see ourselves and the way we move through the world. When we repeat words often enough, they sink deep into our unconscious. They become scripts, running in the background, guiding our choices, and coloring our sense of worth. Think back to when you were a child. Maybe you heard words like, "You should know better," or "Stop being so sensitive," or "Why can't you be more like?" Those phrases might have seemed small in the moment, but for a child, they can feel enormous. They can leave behind imprints that say, "I am not good enough," or "My feelings are wrong," or "I must always prove myself." These messages do not simply disappear with age. They settle into the inner child, shaping how we speak to ourselves as adults. This is why so many people have a harsh inner critic. That voice that says, "You're not doing enough," or "You'll never get it right," is often just an echo of words heard long ago. And because it feels familiar, we mistake it for truth. But the truth is, that voice is only one version of the story. It is not the whole story. Here is where the power of new words comes in. Just as harmful words can wound, healing words can nurture. Gentle, loving affirmations have the ability to create new pathways in the mind and new feelings in the heart. Imagine a child who has only ever heard criticism. Then imagine what it would feel like if someone looked at them and said, "You are safe. You are worthy. You are enough." Those words would land like sunlight after a long winter. That is the power of healing language. Jung believed that symbols, images, and words all hold psychic energy. They move us at a level deeper than reason. This is why affirmations, when spoken with sincerity, can begin to soften the edges of shame and fear. They are not magic spells. They are gentle reminders that call the inner child out of hiding. They say, "I hear you. I care for you. You matter." But for affirmations to work, they must be spoken with presence. If they are rushed or recited without feeling, they remain on the surface. The inner child is sensitive. It knows when words are hollow. But when you pause, breathe, and let the words come from a place of care, they carry weight. They begin to rewire the way you relate to yourself. They become anchors you can return to in moments of doubt. Think about the way you speak to yourself each day. Most of us would never speak to a friend with the same harshness we direct inward. Yet we allow the voice of criticism to run unchecked. Healing begins when we interrupt that cycle, when we choose to introduce new words. Words like, "I am allowed to rest," or "My feelings are important," or "I am enough just as I am." At first, these words may feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. That is natural. They may even stir resistance, because the old scripts are so deeply ingrained. But over time, repetition creates change. The more you practice speaking with kindness, the more your inner child begins to trust those words. Think of it this way. If a child heard for years that they were not good enough, and suddenly you tell them they are loved, they may not believe you right away. They may look away, doubt you, or stay quiet. But if you keep showing up, keep speaking gently, keep offering reassurance, eventually the child begins to soften. They begin to believe. The same is true of the inner child. It takes time. It takes patience. But the healing is real. Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." That is what affirmations are truly about. They are not about pretending everything is perfect. They are about learning to accept yourself, your fears, your flaws, your history, and your hopes. With compassion. Words are one of the simplest tools we have, yet they can open the door to something profound, the experience of self-acceptance. So as we move deeper into this journey, remember that every word you choose matters. The words you direct toward yourself shape the relationship you have with your inner child. They can either reinforce old wounds, or they can begin to heal them. And when you choose words of love, you are not just speaking to the adult you are today. You are speaking to the younger you, who is still waiting to hear. You are safe. You are loved. You are enough. This is the power of words. They are not just tools of communication. They are tools of transformation. Chapter 3. Healing Affirmations. Now that we've explored how words carry power, let's begin speaking words that can truly touch the inner child. These are not empty phrases. They are not quick fixes. They are gentle offerings, spoken to the part of you that has longed to hear them. When we give these words to ourselves, we begin to replace old messages of shame and fear with messages of love and safety. Before we begin, take a breath. Let yourself soften. Imagine for a moment that your inner child is standing before you. Picture them as clearly as you can. Notice their expression. Notice the way they hold themselves. Do they seem afraid? Do they seem curious? Do they seem unsure? However you see them, let them simply be there with you. You do not need to change them or force them to act differently. All you need to do is be present. Now, let us speak the first affirmation. You are safe now. These words matter because the child inside us often carries fear. Fear of rejection, fear of punishment, fear of being left alone. As an adult, you may no longer face those same dangers, but the inner child does not always know that. By saying, "You are safe now," you are reminding that part of yourself that the world around you is no longer the same. You are giving your inner child permission to relax, to breathe, and to trust. Take another breath, and let's move to the next affirmation. You are worthy of love exactly as you are. So many of us learned early that love had conditions, that we had to achieve, behave, or hide parts of ourselves in order to feel accepted. But your inner child does not need to earn love. They deserve it simply because they exist. Speaking these words is like wrapping your younger self in a warm blanket and saying, "You don't need to try so hard. You don't need to change. You are already worthy." Now, let's speak this. It's okay to make mistakes. For some children, mistakes brought punishment or shame. That feeling may have followed you into adulthood, making every misstep feel heavy, even unbearable. But mistakes are part of learning, part of being human. By saying, "It's okay to make mistakes," you are taking the weight off the shoulders of your inner child. You are letting them know they do not have to be perfect to be safe or loved. Another affirmation. Your feelings are valid. Think about how often children are told, "Stop crying," or "Don't be so sensitive," or "That's nothing to be upset about." These words can teach us to bury our emotions, to question them, or to feel ashamed of them. But emotions are signals. They are part of being alive. When you say to your inner child, "Your feelings are valid," you give them permission to express what they feel without judgment. You allow them to trust their own inner world. Next, let us say, "I will protect you." This affirmation speaks directly to the heart of the inner child. When we were young, we depended on others for safety. And if we did not always feel protected, that wound can last for decades. By promising protection, you are stepping into the role of the caring guardian your child self always needed. You are saying, "I am here now, and I will not abandon you." That promise can create a sense of strength and safety deep inside. Now, the words, "You are enough." This may be one of the most powerful affirmations you can ever speak. The feeling of not being enough is one of the deepest wounds carried by the inner child. It shows up in perfectionism, overworking, people-pleasing, and constant self-criticism. But the truth is, you are enough simply by being. When you speak these words, you begin to lift the burden of inadequacy. You allow your inner child to rest in the truth of their inherent worth. Finally, let's say, "I love the little you inside me." These words bring everything together. They are not about performance, achievement, or change. They are about love. Love that is gentle, unconditional, and accepting. By saying, "I love the little you inside me," you acknowledge that the inner child is real, alive, and worthy of tenderness. You turn toward them with open arms instead of pushing them away. Pause for a moment and let all of these affirmations settle in your heart. Imagine your younger self hearing them, maybe for the very first time. Notice how they respond. Do they relax a little? Do they look at you with curiosity? Do they allow a small smile? However they respond, know that the words are landing, even if only in small ways. Healing is not a sudden leap. It is a slow unfolding, one gentle word at a time. Jung once said, "The greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents." Many of us carry within us the unlived, unseen parts of our own childhoods. These affirmations are a way of reclaiming what was lost, of living the life of the child who deserved love, protection, and acceptance. Every time you speak them, you open a door to that life. So when shame rises, when fear speaks loudly, when self-criticism feels overwhelming, return to these affirmations. Say them softly, as if speaking to someone you love dearly, because that is what you are doing. You are speaking to the younger you, You are saying what should have been said long ago. And with each repetition, you are creating new roots of safety and belonging deep within. These are the healing words. They may seem simple, but simplicity is what makes them powerful. In a world that often feels complicated, the inner child does not need complexity. They need kindness. They need gentleness. They need to hear, "You are loved. You are safe. You are enough." And the more you speak these words, the more they become part of you. Not only words you say, but truths you live. Chapter 4. Making Affirmations. Part of Daily Life. Speaking healing words to your inner child is powerful, but the real transformation comes when you bring these words into your daily life. Healing is not about a single moment. It is about consistency, about small acts of care repeated over and over until they become part of who you are. Just like a child learns to trust through repeated gestures of safety and love, your inner child begins to trust when affirmations become part of your rhythm. Let's start with something simple: a morning ritual. When you wake up, before reaching for your phone, before the world asks anything of you, give yourself one moment of presence. Stand in front of a mirror, look into your own eyes, and speak one affirmation out loud. It could be, "You are enough," or "You are safe now." At first, it might feel uncomfortable. You might even feel resistance or a voice saying, "This is silly." But stay with it. Over time, the act of looking into your own reflection and speaking gently to yourself becomes an anchor. It is like saying to your inner child, "I begin this day with you in mind." Another way to weave affirmations into your life is through writing. Keep a small journal, not for long entries, but for short dialogues with your inner child. Write a sentence that begins, "Dear little me," and then offer one affirmation. For example, "Dear little me, your feelings are valid. I am listening." This practice doesn't take long, but it builds a bridge between the adult you and the child within. Over time, you may find that your inner child responds. You might write words that surprise you, as if a younger voice is finally speaking back. You can also bring affirmations into moments of stress. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, pause and place a hand over your heart or on your chest. Take one slow breath and whisper a phrase like, "You are safe," or "I will protect you." By repeating affirmations in moments of difficulty, you are rewiring your nervous system. You are teaching your inner child that when fear arises, love and reassurance will follow. Affirmations can also be paired with creative expression. children naturally express themselves through drawing, singing, moving, or storytelling. To reconnect with that energy, try writing an affirmation in colorful markers or painting it on a page. Draw a picture of your inner child surrounded by the words, "You are worthy." Or create a small card with the phrase, "I love the little you inside me," and keep it somewhere visible. The act of creating turns the affirmation into something tangible, something your senses can touch and see. Another powerful practice is to weave affirmations into your evening routine. Before going to sleep, take a quiet moment to place your hand over your heart and gently speak to yourself as if tucking a child into bed. Say, "You are safe to rest. I will watch over you. You are enough." For many of us, nighttime was a time when fears surfaced as children. By offering affirmations before sleep, you are soothing that part of you, letting them know they are not alone in the dark. Jung believed that symbols and rituals help us connect with the unconscious. By making affirmations part of daily rituals, morning, evening, moments of stress or moments of joy, you are creating symbols of care. Each repetition tells your inner child, "I am here. I will not forget you." Over time, these words begin to feel less like phrases you repeat and more like truths you embody. Another way to integrate affirmations is through movement and breath. For example, as you inhale, say silently to yourself, "I am safe." As you exhale, say, "I am loved." Pairing words with breath allows them to sink deeper. The body begins to associate calm breathing with loving words, creating a full body experience of reassurance. If you ever feel resistance, remember this: healing takes patience. The inner child may not accept affirmations right away, just as a child who has been hurt may hesitate to trust. Your inner child may need time. They may turn away at first, unsure if your words can be trusted. That is okay. Do not push. Do not force. Simply keep showing up with consistency and gentleness. Trust builds slowly, and every small moment of repetition is a brick in the foundation of safety. You can also set reminders throughout your day. Write an affirmation on a sticky note and place it on your desk. Save one as the wallpaper on your phone. Every time you see it, pause and let the words sink in. These small reminders keep the dialogue alive, even in the busiest parts of your life. The goal is not to memorize a long list of affirmations or to say them perfectly. The goal is to speak words that feel true and nourishing. Even one affirmation, repeated with sincerity, can create deep change over time. The key is to let these words become part of your everyday language, not just something you say when you feel broken, but something you say because you deserve to feel loved in every moment. Carl Jung said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." By choosing to speak affirmations daily, you are choosing what you will become. You are no longer bound by the words that once wounded you. You are creating new language, new patterns, and new possibilities. Imagine what would happen if, for the next week, every morning, you looked into your own eyes and said, "You are enough." Imagine how that might slowly soften your inner critic. Imagine if, every night before bed, you whispered to yourself, "You are safe. I will protect you." How would your inner child begin to feel after hearing that every day? This is not theory. This is practice. And practice, repeated with love, brings real healing. Daily affirmations are not about pretending pain doesn't exist. They are about building a new foundation of safety and love so that when pain arises, it does not overwhelm you. They remind your inner child that no matter what happens, they are not alone anymore. You are here now. You are the one who speaks for them, who cares for them, who loves them. This is how affirmations become more than words. This is how they become a way of life. Chapter 5. Integration and Wholeness. When we talk about healing the inner child, it is important to understand that the goal is not to erase the past or to become someone entirely different. Healing is not about cutting away parts of yourself. It is about integration. Carl Jung often described the journey of life as a process of individuation, a movement toward wholeness. He wrote, "Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries." That means every part of us, even the wounded child, has a place in the whole picture of who we are. Think about it this way. Imagine a puzzle with many pieces. Some pieces are bright and colorful, representing your strengths, your joys, your creativity. Other pieces are darker, carrying your fears, your shame, your pain. Without all the pieces, the puzzle is incomplete. Integration is about allowing each piece to belong, about creating a picture where nothing is left out. The inner child is one of those essential pieces. When ignored, it often finds ways to speak through pain, through fear, through patterns we don't understand. But when acknowledged, when spoken to with love, the inner child becomes a source of creativity, playfulness, and vitality. It is not only the place where we hold wounds, but also the place where we hold wonder. Integration means embracing both. For many people, there is a temptation to want only the light and reject the shadow. We may want only the confident, capable parts of ourselves and hide away the vulnerable, scared, or imperfect parts. But Jung reminded us that true growth comes from accepting the shadow as well as the light. He said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Meeting the inner child, listening to their fears, and responding with love is part of making that darkness conscious. And once we bring it into awareness, it no longer has to control us from the shadows. Integration also means learning to live in harmony with all the different parts of yourself. Imagine your inner world as a home with many rooms. Some rooms are bright and filled with laughter. Some are quiet and calm. And some rooms may have been closed for years, left in darkness. Integration is the act of opening those closed doors, stepping inside with care, and saying, "You belong too." Over time, the house becomes whole again. It becomes a place where every room is acknowledged, where every voice is heard. In practical terms, integration shows up in small but meaningful ways. For example, when you feel overwhelmed and your inner child is triggered, instead of criticizing yourself for being too emotional, you pause. You say, "It's okay. I hear you. You are safe now." That simple shift transforms an old pattern of self-judgment into a new pattern of self-compassion. Slowly, the different parts of you begin to trust one another. The adult self and the child self begin to work together. Integration is also about reclaiming joy. The inner child is the part of you that still delights in simple things: the sound of laughter, the feel of warm sunlight, the act of creating without expectation. When you allow yourself to play, to explore, to enjoy small moments without judgment, you are giving space for the inner child to live fully. Healing is not only about soothing wounds, it is also about restoring the parts of you that were once silenced. Jung taught that the psyche seeks balance. If one part is ignored, another part will grow louder to compensate. When we neglect the inner child, the voice of the critic often grows stronger. When we deny our vulnerability, our defenses may harden. But when we welcome the child within, when we honor our vulnerability as well as our strength, the psyche begins to balance itself. Wholeness emerges naturally. This process takes patience. Integration does not happen in one day or one practice. It is a lifelong journey of returning to yourself again and again. Some days you may feel open and connected to your inner child. Other days, you may feel distant or resistant. That is normal. Healing is not a straight line. It is a spiral, circling back through familiar places, each time with more awareness, more compassion, more depth. Think of it like tending a garden. You do not plant a seed and expect a full bloom the next morning. You water, you nourish, you protect. Over time, growth appears. Some days, the garden thrives. Other days, it needs more care. But with consistency, with love, with attention, the garden becomes lush and alive. Your inner child is the same. With repeated affirmations, gentle presence, and steady compassion, that part of you begins to flourish. Integration also brings freedom. When the inner child feels loved and acknowledged, the adult self no longer has to carry as much tension. You no longer have to fight against parts of yourself. You no longer have to hide behind perfectionism or numbness. Instead, you can live more openly, more authentically. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Wholeness is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming fully yourself, with every part embraced. Take a moment now to imagine what wholeness might feel like for you. Imagine living a life where your inner child feels safe, where your adult self feels steady, where all parts of you are welcomed to the table. Imagine waking up in the morning and knowing that you do not need to pretend, that you do not need to fight yourself, that you are allowed to exist as you are. This is what integration offers: the relief of self-acceptance, the joy of authenticity, and the peace of belonging to yourself. Wholeness is not a destination to arrive at. It is a way of living. It is a practice of choosing, day by day, to speak kindly to yourself, to acknowledge your feelings, to honor your needs, and to let the inner child know they are loved. Each time you do this, you are weaving together the different threads of your being. Over time, those threads form a tapestry, a life that is whole, balanced, and deeply human. Your inner child is not a burden. They are a bridge to creativity, to wonder, to vulnerability, and to strength. When you integrate them into your life, you are not only healing wounds, you are reclaiming your full humanity. And in that integration, in that acceptance, you find the wholeness that Jung spoke of, the wholeness that has been waiting for you all along. As we come to the close of this journey together, I want to invite you to pause for a moment. Take a gentle breath in and a long breath out. Feel the weight of your body where you are sitting or lying down. Feel the simple truth that you are here in this moment, listening, reflecting, and choosing to care for yourself in a new way. That in itself is an act of healing. The inner child is not something you outgrow. It is not a stage you leave behind. It is a living presence within you, carrying both tender wounds and radiant gifts. Throughout your life, this child may have called out in different ways. Through the ache of shame, through the weight of self-doubt, through the craving for comfort you could not name. And now, by turning toward them with words of compassion, you have already begun the work of healing. Carl Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." That is the path you are walking now. Healing the inner child is not about becoming perfect or reaching some final version of yourself. It is about learning to accept yourself. Every age, every season, every feeling, as worthy of love. It is about turning toward the parts of you that once felt invisible and saying, "I see you now. I will not turn away." Let yourself reflect on what you have given your inner child during our time together. You have offered safety. You have offered validation. You have offered love without conditions. Even if a part of you still doubts these words, even if the affirmations feel unfamiliar, know that they are landing. They are planting seeds. And seeds grow quietly, often beneath the surface where we cannot yet see. Healing is like that, slow, patient, steady. Perhaps, for the first time, you have spoken words your inner child has been waiting decades to hear. You are safe now. You are worthy of love. Your feelings matter. You are enough. These words are not just sentences. They are promises. Promises that you can return to again and again, especially when life feels heavy. Integration and wholeness do not happen in a single moment. They are built through practice, through small choices to meet yourself with kindness each day. Some days will feel easy, and the words will flow. Other days may feel hard, and the old patterns may return. That is not failure. That is part of the journey. Each time you come back to these affirmations, each time you place a hand over your heart and speak gently to yourself, you are strengthening the bond between your adult self and your inner child. You might begin to notice small shifts. Maybe you speak to yourself with a little more softness. Maybe you allow yourself to rest without guilt. Maybe you feel a flicker of joy in something simple, and you realize it is your inner child peeking through. These are signs of healing. They are quiet, but they are powerful. Remember, that your inner child is not only a part of you that holds pain. They are also the keeper of your wonder, your creativity, your ability to love freely. By healing them, you are not only mending old wounds, you are reclaiming the joy of being alive. Jung said, "In every adult lurks a child, an eternal child, something that is becoming, that is never completed." That child is with you still, not as a burden, but as a companion who can bring you back to what is most real and most alive. So as you step forward from this moment, carry these words with you. You are safe. You are loved. You are enough. Whisper them in the morning when you open your eyes. Speak them at night before you drift to sleep. Repeat them when you feel fear or doubt rising. Let them become the language you live by. And when you imagine that little version of you standing with wide eyes, waiting to be seen, let them know, I see you. I hear you. I love you. I will never leave you behind. Because healing the inner child is not about going back to the past. It is about bringing that child forward with you, into the life you are living now, and finally giving them a home inside your heart. Carl Jung reminded us that I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. You are choosing now. By speaking these healing words, by meeting your inner child with love, you are choosing to become whole. As we close, take one more slow breath. Imagine your inner child standing before you. Picture yourself reaching out and gently placing your hand in theirs. Feel the connection. Feel the promise. And silently, in your own way, say, we are in this together. From now on, I will walk with you. You are never alone again. That is the gift of this work. Not perfection, not quick answers, but presence, compassion, and the steady unfolding of wholeness. You are on that path now, and every step you take is enough. I hope this video was helpful. If this resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts or experiences. Thanks for watching.